Good morning. I'm Tricia Bear from the Guardians of Service program, and we're here visiting with Sean Lord. He's with Heroes of Hope. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning. How are you?
Just fine. Thank you for joining us today. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background in the military?
Yeah. So I spent about just under 8 years on active duty in the Marine Corps. Was stationed from Virginia to Hawaii, and then was on recruiting duty up in Minnesota for a little bit. And then after the military, I ended up coming down to Tulsa. Been here for a while.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, what is the Heroes Hope motto?
It's shifted. Right now, currently, it's together we can end veteran homelessness.
Okay.
We started with the idea of no veteran left behind, which is still true. But we have realized as an organization, we can't solve the problem by ourselves. And so we know it's all about partnerships, bringing other people along and doing work together.
Mm-hmm. All right. When was Heroes of Hope founded?
So we became a 501c3 in March of 2023, but we really started doing the work before that. Our organization is led entirely by veterans, and we all, at the time, went to the same church together. And we just tried to find ways to care for the veterans in our community. And my wife and I, as we would go downtown Tulsa just to get to know the city of Tulsa when we first moved here, anytime I would see a veteran that was panhandling or somebody that was unhoused that looked like they may be a veteran by dress, I just wanted to talk to them. And we started to realize that there was a large problem with getting the unhoused veteran community connected to resources. And nobody was really doing it to the extent that we felt like we could. So that's what sparked us from 2022 to the actual formation of 501c3 in 2023, putting together a plan and saying, hey, let's do this together.
Okay, that's awesome. What's the mission of Heroes Hope?
It's to provide hope and restoration to those who have given their all for us, the veteran community. And when I say veteran community, I mean all the way from National Guard through anybody that served on active duty, wanting to come alongside them and just help them along the way.
All right. What area of homeless veterans and their families do you help?
So right now we're primarily in the Tulsa area, but we do get calls from and end up helping out veterans from all over the state. So we're based in Tulsa, but we can take veterans from just about anywhere.
Okay. And then if someone wants to give to, sponsor, or volunteer for Heroes Hope, who do they call?
They could call me. My cell phone number's on our website, all of our printed materials. And I love having those conversations with individuals. One of the hardest parts about what we do is we're completely privately funded. So Heroes Hope, we offer no red tape, immediate housing and resources to the veteran community we serve. And the reason we do that is we realized in that the first year or so that most of the unhoused veterans we're working with were battling post-traumatic stress. And because of that, they started to self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, because those drugs and alcohol would help their post-traumatic stress symptoms, the anger, the flashbacks, the dreams, stay at bay. And so we don't often take grants from the state and federal level, only because there are natural steps in those grant processes that require progression, but we can't guarantee that every veteran's going to fit that every time, and we never want to kick somebody out of our program because they didn't fit somebody else's expectations.
Right.
So I love having the conversations about how this can be involved, because we're able to do what we do because of families, small businesses, churches. Yeah.
All right, and your website's heroeshope.net?
Yes, it is. Right now it's undergoing some construction, so some aspects of it aren't working every day, but everything that we do is there. Honestly, a lot of the stories of what we do are there too, but I'd also encourage people to check out our Facebook page, because most of the stories of veterans that we're meeting with, veterans that we're impacting, we're sharing their stories and their information on Facebook as well.
Okay. And then if they wanted to email you, what's your email address?
It's heroeshope@yahoo.com. Heroes Hope is HEROESHOPE@yahoo.com.
Okay, and then are they able to go directly to that facility? And what's that address if they are?
So our business address is not our housing facility. That's
Okay.
kind of where our office operates out of.
All right.
That is the address for the 501c3 as an entity, but we have transitional housing and what we call semi-temporary or semi-permanent housing
Okay.
all over the city of Tulsa. We do not share those addresses just for the safety of the individuals, and also we don't want the community that surrounds them to assume the worst of them just because of who they are.
Right.
So our address is what's listed on our website, but that's not where the needs of the veterans are being met.
Gotcha. Okay, and then what services does Heroes Hope provide to veterans?
That's probably one of the harder questions to answer. At first, we thought it was just going to be transitional temporary housing, but knowing that a vast majority of the men and women we serve are battling with post-traumatic stress, depression, or anxiety to a level that has caused some serious connection issues with others, and some of them have injuries. Some veterans have a car, others don't. Some veterans are getting VA benefits and others aren't. So we will try to meet every need that a veteran that's in crisis has. We may not physically do it ourselves, but we're connected enough to other veteran organizations that we can call the VA or we can call some other organizations in town and say, hey, this veteran has this need, can you help?
Yeah.
Our goal is to provide the safe housing, cover meals, clothing, things like that, so that we can then partner and help them move from there.
Okay, so if anybody has any clothes in their closet they don't need that are in good shape, could they donate those maybe?
Yeah, that'd be great. So our transitional house is by HUD standards truly transitional. The veterans do not contribute financially in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So the transitional house, when a veteran has a bed there, we're not only covering the cost of utilities and rent, but food, clothing, hygiene items,
Okay.
and if you were to walk into our transitional home, or even any of the apartments that we use for housing as well, all of that furniture has been donated by families, retirement homes, churches. And so anytime that somebody says, hey, we've got clothing, or we want to provide meals, or we've got a couch, we would love to partner with those individuals because it helps us help the veterans we serve.
Okay.
And same thing, they can email us, they can send us a message through Facebook. You can call me and just say, hey, Sean, I've got this item that we're not going to use anymore. Can you use it?
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so what is the eligibility requirement to get assistance from Heroes of Hope?
There are two, but the only real actual requirement is that we can verify veteran status,
Okay.
which in today's world, we live in a digital world, so it's pretty easy to connect with some veteran service officers or other entities to verify if somebody was a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
Once we've verified, then we're willing to work with them and help them in any way we can.
Okay.
We have a soft expectation that the veterans are committing to taking steps to better themselves while they're with us. So really the question gets asked of, hey, once we know you're a veteran, are you willing to work alongside us to help you get back on your feet? We've been asked a handful of times if we have like a program binder that labels out, step one for each veteran is this, and step two is this. And we don't, just because every veteran's story is different, all their needs are different. And what we're trying to do is help empower them to get where they want to go. And so based off conversations we'll have with them, we have some veterans that they want to get to a point where they can afford their own house, or some veterans that want to become a cooking professional. And so we'll work to get them connected with those resources.
Okay.
And so as long as they are taking steps towards whatever those goals are, then they are actively involving themselves in our program.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, and if anyone, we just talked about that, if anybody wants to donate supplies to Heroes of Hope, we just talked about what kind of supplies their company can give veterans or give your organizations to help veterans. So furniture, clothing.
Furniture and clothing are really big needs right now.
Okay.
So we actually have a very unique relationship with the VA offices here in Oklahoma, primarily Tulsa. So the VA does have their program for housing the unhoused veteran community. Most people know it as HUD-VASH if they've been through the program. And that's when the VA identifies a veteran, they work alongside with HUD and the housing authorities to get that veteran qualified for a housing program and then place them somewhere. The struggle has been for so many VA offices is that they can identify the veterans, they can get them qualified, but they can't find apartment complexes that are willing to work with the government vouchers and the unhoused veteran community.
Okay.
So our program is already up and running. We already had great relationships with some property owners, some managers, And so what we've worked out with the VA is that when they identify a veteran, they can come to us and say, hey, we've got this veteran that qualifies for this program and has these needs, can you house them? And we will work with the apartment complexes we have a relationship with, and we'll kind of be the connector. And what's been cool about that is we've sped up the process for veterans between 6 and 12 months before to start to finish. We can do that with the VA in almost about a month or less.
Okay.
But a big part of that is we try to set up every apartment and every house so that all the needs for that veteran are met. You know, once we identify that place, it's, hey, we need to get them a couch and a table and cookware, cups, bowls. We need to get some clothes for the closet in case they don't have anything, so that when they actually walk through the front door of that place, it is completely turnkey and ready for them. And so when we do get calls about furniture or clothing, we almost will never turn something away unless it's not going to fit or it's too tattered that it's going to fall apart. But we want to be able to create a great move-in experience for those veterans.
Okay. And I know the VA hospital in Muskogee is having a baby shower for women veterans that are pregnant.
Okay.
So I believe that's October 13th, and I'll put out more information on that closer to it. But they are having a baby shower for women veterans at the VA in Muskogee.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then how many veterans have you helped? And
So we're sitting at 53 as of yesterday.
okay.
And that is partly with the partnership with the VA that we have right now, and then partly the veterans that we identify. So it's almost 50-50. Some of the veterans we're working with, our team identifies, we bring them in, and then we connect them with resources. Part of the veterans we're working with, the VA or some of the local outreach entities will identify them and then bring them to us, and we'll kind of work together. So that 53 is a good mix of both of those processes.
Okay. And then is Heroes Hope based on a veteran's income?
No, actually, there's no requirement as far as finances. We don't screen somebody to find out how much they make, or really we don't expect any contribution from them, especially in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so we've had veterans that they were living under a bridge or on a park bench and had no income, no access to healthcare, no transportation. We've had veterans that they had a car and they could do some delivery jobs, but they were struggling to catch up. And we've had veterans that they get 100% VA disability, but they struggle with finances, or they've got an addiction issue that's tying up them. So there is really no maximum minimum. Really the only requirement is a veteran in need.
Okay, well that's good to know, because some organizations do go by their income.
Yeah.
So that's great to know. Okay, so what annual fundraisers does Heroes of Hope have?
So we're about to do our first gala in September. September 13th is a Saturday night, which will be, it's going to be a nice dinner. There's going to be music, and we're going to be having some of our veterans come and share the story of how their lives look different today because of us working alongside them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited because we're going to have some people at that event that already know about what we do and they want to support the work we do. But I'm hoping that maybe even some of the individuals watching this interview right now are interested enough in what we do that they want to come and just hear more. They want to hear stories. Because if nothing else coming out of that event, I hope people are encouraged by the work that we're doing and see that we really can take a no red tape approach to the work we're doing.
All right, that's awesome. I plan to be there with my husband, by the way, and help promote you. So I'm going to help promote that event in your organization. How much does that gala event cost to attend, and how can someone register for that event?
So tickets right now are $90 per person. That covers meal, getting to the event, everything included in that. We have an online ticket link.
Okay.
I can share that with you. It's also on our website. If you go to our homepage, and then you click on the little menu section up there, there's a page for the event.
Okay.
And there's, if somebody's got a small business they want to promote, there's promotion opportunities, sponsorship opportunities as well. But yeah, the more the merrier. We'd love to have as many people there as possible.
Okay. And how can businesses or volunteers help in the Heroes Hope Gala event?
So we're working towards getting the plan for that day set up. So we'll be sharing through social media, but also those who through our website have let us know they want to serve and help out. We'll be sharing needs of how people can help us day of with setting up, day of with communication, things like that. we are looking for some of those businesses that they want to support the work we're doing, but also share about their business. So we're engaging with table sponsors that we can highlight their business. They're supporting the work we do, but they can also bring people to the event. So that's always a way that somebody can volunteer. Outside of that event, there are numerous serving opportunities. Is it okay if I share some of those?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So the only role in our organization that you have to be a veteran to serve in is a mentor. And the reason being, so our board, the leadership of the organization, we're all veterans, but the reason that we engage other veterans as mentors is because we're trying to offer life-on-life care to every veteran. And we don't necessarily have a hard set graduation date. It's not a, hey, you've progressed through this, this, and this, and hit all these goals, so now you're done. We're building friendships, lasting relationships. But a unique thing about veterans that you and I understand is we've lived a lifestyle that sometimes you can't explain to other people. But I know that when I sit down with a veteran that's struggling with post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety, as soon as I just tell them a little bit about my military background, they're comfortable sharing things with me they may not have ever shared with their family. So that's the reason why the mentor program is going to be veterans serving veterans. We help equip those mentors to do what they're going to do to help come alongside those veterans and be their network. But outside of that, I mean, there are opportunities for individuals to make meals for our veterans, write cards for our veterans, be calling and praying for them. They can still be a part of the veteran's life, go to dinners with them, movies, things like that. We just reserve the mentor side of it for other veterans. We talked about the furniture and some of that already, but we've actually created a little move-in team. So by August 1st, we will have moved in partnership with the VA and our own program, 20 veterans in 30 days. And there's a lot of work that goes into that because once we identify a location, we also are trying to identify the furniture and the needs that veteran has.
Okay.
And then we got to move it all in. So something else that's unique about us, we don't have a paid staff. We're a 100% volunteer organization. So anytime we're getting a veteran ready to move in, all of the moving of the furniture and unboxing things in the room and setting that place up for them happens through volunteers. And so anytime somebody would love to help us make a place home for a veteran, we're always building a team to do that as well. And if for some reason somebody's listening to this and they have a unique skill that they say, hey, I think I can be of benefit to the organization, call me, because I'm one person, I can't come up with every idea and I don't know what I don't know. And so there's been so many phone calls, somebody said, well, hey, this is a way that I've served before, this is a job that I've done, would it benefit your organization? Could I help your veterans in this way? And I love having those conversations too.
Okay. One thing that the Henrietta Chamber of Commerce does every year is they have, if anybody wants, the business or even an individual wants to donate a basket, a gift basket, they sell raffle tickets and then they take whatever tickets they buy and put them in whatever basket they want to try to win. And that's a good way to maybe raise money for your organization, having the businesses or individuals donate baskets. I know the VFW does donate a basket to that.
Yeah, if there's businesses out there that they've got a product they would love to donate a basket for or an item for, we're still taking in, especially for that gala in September, some prizes, because the plan is to do a portion of it a raffle where people can buy tickets and put in a certain basket for certain items, and then a portion of it be an auction towards some of the larger type prizes, vacations. Somebody talked about donating half a cow, and so we've been working with all kinds of great opportunities. But yes, always love doing that and partnering with local businesses.
Okay, and I'll bring that up at our VFW meeting and our DAV meeting and see if there's any way that they can help assist with that gala event or any event you have. What's included in the sponsorship packet?
It depends on what level. So table sponsorship, which is one of the first ones, covers 8 tickets to the event. It gets your business or family name, whoever you want to represent, listed in the pamphlet for the event, but also on the table. A logo will be talked about throughout the event. We do have a veteran business or veteran family highlight sponsorship available. We're going to build a little wall right as families check in for the event, and that wall is going to be dedicated to veteran families, veteran small businesses. And so if there's somebody that says, hey, I want to honor a veteran that just passed away in their family, or I've got a veteran business that I would love to have highlighted, we can get you your logo and information on that wall, and you'll still get a couple of tickets to the event with that sponsorship as well. And then we have 3 supporter opportunities, bronze, silver, and gold, and each of those, they all include a table to the event. They come with the same things that the table sponsorship does, but each brings another level of advertisement for any of those businesses out there, with us sharing on our website and social media, or them getting certain video shout outs and things during the event. All of those are listed on the gala page on our website.
Okay.
And if somebody's got any questions about what that would look like for them, give me a call.
Okay. And then can you tell us about a couple of veterans that Heroes Hope has helped get back on their feet?
Just a couple's sometimes not enough, but yes.
Yeah.
I love sharing stories, and we've had a couple of veterans from the very beginning that have really been able to show the heart of what we do. There was a family that I found out was attending my church, and husband and wife had 2 teenage kids. They were living in a 4-door sedan, and as parents, 2 teenage kids, they're dropping their kids off at school every day, picking their kids up at school every day. They're all living in the same car. They're not able to do laundry. They're not always able to shower, and the emotional pain that would have put on their kids, but also them as parents, right? So when we met them, that was a situation they were in. They didn't have a place to call home. They're all living in their car. And so we found ways to help find a rental property for them. We got furniture donated. We set them up in a rental house together. And both the parents started working at other locations. And the veteran ended up getting connected to the Goodwill program at Tulsa. He wanted to do some security work. Well, through that, he got CLEAT certified. He got everything he needed to be an armed security guard for Goodwill. Then he had this random idea as a veteran of starting a business where he could then hire other veterans. So now, not only do they have their own house, but this veteran has his own security business. He's contracted with gas stations and some other businesses in 5 different states. He employs primarily other veterans in crisis, and his business is, in just a year, becoming one of the most successful security businesses in the 4-state area. And he got to share his story with some individuals just in 18 months, for them to go from 4 individuals living in a car to his daughter breaking some world records for her age class in sports, both the parents being working, and now they've got a functioning family again. Like, that's exactly what we hope for. And by no means have they left and don't get friendships and care from us anymore. Like, we're still very connected to that family. But knowing that we got to be a small part of those steps going was incredible. One of the most influential stories, though, I think paints a picture for how we became who we are. This veteran doesn't allow me to share his name, but I call him Bob. Okay. Bob was a Vietnam vet, and when he got back, anybody that knows about that era knows that veterans weren't welcomed back with open arms. But also, in Vietnam, post-traumatic stress started to take a turn in a different way. And as a country, we didn't necessarily understand it. So Bob came home to his family, and by day he was fine. He worked a normal job. People loved him. But at nighttime, he'd have such bad nightmares and dreams that he started hurting people in his family and had no recollection of it in the morning. Well, he left his home and moved in with an Army buddy because he didn't want to hurt his family anymore. And while he was there at home, or his friend's house, that buddy said, "Hey, I've learned that if I have 2 or 3 drinks before bed, I don't have those nightmares. Those dreams are gone." So after a couple of weeks of having a few drinks before bed, Bob thought he was cured. So he went back home, he celebrated with his family that, "Hey, I figured this issue out." But a couple years later, that's turned into him needing to drink all day long just to be safe for his family. Yeah. So Bob was living homeless for almost a decade under a bridge in Tulsa. And he knew about all of the other outreach programs. But the reason he wasn't going is because most of those outreach programs asked him to be sober and live in a communal living environment in order to get meals and care there. But to Bob, that meant sober meant he could be violent and hurt people. And 2, being in a community of people he doesn't know, now he's harming people that he considers innocent. So he chose to not pursue other resources because he didn't want to be a danger to people. What we got to see in his story is not a man that wants to live off of panhandling and live his days drunk under a bridge for the rest of his life. What we saw was a man struggling with post-traumatic stress, struggling with issues that he was forced to face just because he chose to serve our country. And as a group of veterans ourselves, we realized that, man, that's the case for so many men and women that are unhoused right now, is they're self-medicating because of struggles they just don't know how to process with their family. And so that was kind of the foundation story for us, is realizing that we as a group of veterans were uniquely equipped to meet you and others that are struggling with those things. And that's where the no red tape came from, right? You don't need to be fixed for people to show you that you have value. And we want to be able to walk alongside those veterans. And now he lives with his wife again. His kids have families, and they'll get together for Thanksgiving, and it's water under the bridge from their perspective, right? But in the heat of that, nobody knew what to do. And so I love telling his story because it shares why we do what we do.
That's awesome. Yeah, and especially the Vietnam vets. I help a lot of vets, but Vietnam vets, if you hear their stories, they were dropped off in the middle of the jungle with a chlorine tablet to drink out of the stream and a little bit of food, and they didn't know when they was going to get picked back up. So their experience was way worse than I went through in Baghdad, Iraq. Yeah, we had rocket attacks, but we lived in 2-man trailers. I mean, totally different experience, and so I have a special place in my heart for them because they had it rough.
Yeah, and we've worked with some veterans too that they sought help for their struggles in the early years after their deployments, and they just didn't find the help they were looking for. And now I think the VA and local state governments, they put so much time and effort into caring for veterans with those struggles. Some of those programs are incredible now, but the older generations of veterans don't know about them because their experience from 30 years ago was negative, and so they've just written off pursuing help in other entities. So one thing that we get to do as veterans is we get to say, hey, will you trust us to introduce you to some resources that we think are really going to help you? And then we get to partner them with those that they live their lives to help in those situations.
Okay, and that's another thing that I do. I'm a VFW DAV Veteran Service Officer. So I will help soldiers fill out their VA paperwork to try to get their VA benefits because they don't know what paperwork to fill out and they don't know the process. So I do all that for free in Henrietta. My number is 479-414-0952. So please give me a call. I'd love to help you get your VA benefits, and I'll help you do the paperwork. I'll do the paperwork for you. So that's one way we can help you financially and also mentally get that help that you need if you have PTSD or whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
So on one statistic, I can't say it right, about veterans is that in 2021, 131 of our Oklahoma veterans committed suicide. That is one veteran suicide every 2.7 days. Do you have any other statistics you want to share with us?
I don't have hard numbers. I know that 22 a day is pretty well known around the country. I've heard the statistic about here in Oklahoma. What breaks my heart is the number isn't getting smaller as fast as it could. And what I know through personal struggles, but also just the veterans I work with post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety, they're not symptoms that can be treated and then they just go away. These are struggles that our brothers and sisters may be struggling with for the rest of their life. And I think some veterans, they get a few steps forward and family celebrates that and people are so excited that they took a few steps forward, but then those veterans have a rough day and they're not sure who else to reach out to. And if they don't have others like you and I that are in their corner checking in on them when they're not reaching out, sometimes they get to that point where they feel so broken, so hurting, they just don't want to feel that pain anymore. And I'm not saying that to justify it, I'm saying that to say I understand it, but that's why I want to encourage anybody that's watching this, whether you're a veteran or not, if you've got a friend that's ever struggled with depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress for any reason, or just a friend that needs something you haven't heard from in a few days, never hesitate to call, text that person. You never know whose life you may be saving without knowing it, just by reaching out.
Absolutely. Heroes Hope is a structured program using multiple resources aimed at having the veteran restored and independent in approximately how long does that take?
We hope for no more than 18 months, but that's a fluid number because, like I mentioned before, some veterans come in and they only have a couple of needs or struggles they're facing to get back on their feet. Some veterans come to us completely broken, lost and alone, and they're going to take a little bit more time to get back to a point where they trust people and they've got a job again and they're working. So 18 months is the goal, but some of them, some of these veterans that are in a transitional house, they may qualify for the VA's HUD-VASH program. And so they may not be in our transitional home for a year, and they may have an apartment of their own, but that doesn't mean our mentorship with them stops and our connecting with them stops. So the goal is that the veteran individual is back on their feet in a goal that they've set. Just another unique question that I get asked is, what does it mean for a veteran to be back on their feet? I can't answer that, because it's different for everybody. And what success looks like to me and what comfort looks like to me is not going to be the same for everybody else. And so we don't exist to set those goals for the individual. We don't exist to say, hey, by this date you need to be here. What we're doing is say, hey, we love you enough that we will give you a safe place to live. We'll cover meals for a little bit, clothing, and then we want to help you identify what's important to you. What does it mean 5 years from now for you to be the successful version of you? And some veterans already have that idea. They know they want to go to school, they want to do this. Some veterans have no idea. And so what we're doing is we're just saying, okay, now that we're with you, let us help you figure that out, and let us help you make that a reality again. So that's really the heart of it. We don't want to be the end all that says, this is what it looks like for you. We want to say, how can we help you get where you already want to go?
All right. And then also, like on the VA disability benefits, a veteran can get 10% disability, which is $171 a month, or they can get 100% VA disability. And I don't care if they've been out 60 years, they still can apply, and I can walk them through that process. 100% is $4,000 a month, but some veterans think, well, I was never in combat, I'm not eligible. Yes, you are. You do not have to be in combat. The military is stressful. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. He was in the Marine Corps for 8 years. I was in the Army National Guard on active duty for 17. The military in itself is very stressful. So just because you didn't serve in a combat zone, you're still eligible to apply for your benefits that you truly earned.
Yeah, there's a reason why military retirements are around 20 to 30 years, depending on your role in the military. Getting past 40 or 50 in that environment is just physically stressful. That's why you see people retiring younger. But I encourage veterans all the time, even if you don't feel like you rate any sort of VA disability, I'd encourage you still to meet with a veteran service officer, because even 10% now gets you access to some healthcare benefits, maybe even counseling benefits for you and your family later on if you need them. And it's just simply going and saying, hey, here are some things that I do believe are connected to, and let's have that conversation.
Yeah, and one of the criteria to use the VA hospital is that you have a 10% VA disability. However, if you have a mental health illness, they're going to help you. They're not going to tell you, no, you can't come here. So in that aspect, you can still get help that you need if you have a mental health issue, and then let a service officer like me that works for the DAV on the paperwork side help you get your benefits. At least give them a call and see what your options are.
It's something that I hope any veteran watching this understands, is that you also don't have to have a VA disability rating to access some of the unhoused resources either. Many of the veterans that we work with, whether the VA calls us or we connect with the VA, they have no disability claim set up. But that doesn't mean that the VA is not there to help them get back on their feet, and we're not either. And I personally don't care about your level of discharge. I know that, and sometimes Marines get in trouble because they just drink with the wrong crowd, and they have a boss that's a hard charger, and they pursue that to the full extent of military law. I'm not going to hold decisions you made at 18 against you for the rest of your life, especially if you're now living on a park bench somewhere. And so anybody that's listening to this, if you've ever been told that you can't get help because you have anything other than an honorable discharge, please call, because that is the farthest thing from the truth for some nonprofits, and even with VA systems, not always the truth anymore either.
Right, and then also you can request for a military discharge upgrade. You can request that, but as you're requesting that, and that's something I can help you with, you can contact the VA hospital because they have their own criteria. So it's possible you may have an other than honorable discharge, and the VA hospital still can provide you services.
Yep.
And then we'll be working on trying to get your discharge changed for the VA disability benefit side. But as far as being seen at the VA hospital, it's going to be up to the VA. That's a totally different area that makes that decision based on your discharge.
It is wild to me the number of veterans I'll talk to that's like, well, Sean, I have an other than honorable, or I have an honor or a general under honorable conditions, but I was told when I separated that that meant I wouldn't qualify for this, this, and this. And I just encourage people, sometimes policies change. Sometimes policies get reevaluated. And even though that may have been true at the time you were told that, or may have been true to your leader's knowledge, it's always worth just asking the question again, because there may be benefits that you need, you qualify for, and a new process exists,
Yeah, and especially if you had an injury when you were in the military and then you still now have a current condition of that same injury, that's how you get those VA disability benefits. If you can show evidence where you now have the current injury, you're still having a problem with it, but you have documentation where you had it when you were in. And I can show you how to request your records too online or through the mail.
Yeah,
to remember what happened to you when you were in. So
Yeah.
some people can't remember what they went to the doctor for.
Well, and I know so many veterans from all branches of service that when I talk to them, they'll say, well, I don't like asking for help, or other people need it more than me, or what I experienced wasn't that bad. And I get that. I do. It's very common in the military for us to be taught to just push all that stuff to the side. But what then happens is these individuals go decades with an injury, decades with a financial struggle, decades with a battle against mental health that just continues to get worse over time. And then when I get a phone call about a veteran, it's very rarely a one-time event that led to them being where they're at. It's years and years of things piling up on top that eventually were just so overwhelming that the foundation fell out from underneath. And so any veteran listening to this conversation, and even if you don't feel like your situation is as bad as somebody else's, and please never compare or don't think like that. Like, you matter, you have value, and what you did in the military matters. And so I hope that we can all push that idea to the side and always pursue those benefits, what's best for us and our families.
Okay, well, we appreciate you coming in today and helping educate the veterans on your program. And thank you very much.
Thank you.